He stole money from his mom to pay for Roblox. Story time. One of my college roommates was obsessed with games, and his favorite was Roblox. He would even skip classes just so he could play it. And if you don't think that was extreme enough, listen to this. One day this boy calls his mom and puts her on speakerphone, and I'm in the room with them just listening. His mom answers and he's like, "Mom, I hate to ask this, but I need money for books and art supplies." And because I went to an art school, his mom didn't think anything of it. She was like, "Of course, anything you need, just let me know how much." At first, he asked for $500, but because his mom was so nice and generous, she was like, "I'm just gonna send you $1,000 so you don't have to ask me again." I was sitting there confused because me and him had the same classes and none of our classes required us to get art supplies or books. Like, what's really going on? So after he gets off the phone with her and she sends him the money, I just straight up ask him like, "We don't need books or art supplies for any of our classes, so what are you gonna use that money for?" This boy gonna say, "Oh, I just needed the money for Roblox, so I had to make up that lie real quick." So I replied to him and I said, "Don't you feel bad? Like, that's $1,000. People don't just have $1,000 lying around to just send people." And what came out of his mouth after that was insane. He gonna tell me to shut my mouth, black boy, and mind my business. Excuse me? So I shut my mouth, logged into Facebook on my phone, went to his profile, found his mother, and sent a cute little message just telling her what her son was actually doing with the money she sent him. I mean, she deserves to know. It's her money. Not even 5 minutes after that message sent, y'all, his mom calls him and she is screaming. He didn't put her on speakerphone this time, but I could hear her cussing his behind out on the other side of that phone. And he didn't even deny what he was doing. He actually tried to gaslight her and was like, "Don't you want me to be happy here? I'm all by myself. I have no one to talk to. Like, the games are the only thing that bring me happiness." But luckily, his mom did not fall for it. In fact, because she was the one paying for his school, paying for him to actually eat, paying for him to play his little video games, she cut him off of everything. This boy had to find a part-time job and start paying for his own stuff. And then he gonna try to confront me about it like I did something wrong. But that's a whole nother story.
Let me tell you about the worst Valentine's Day I have ever had. This is not a redeemable story by any means. Like, sometimes people will try to make things good and they're a good person, so like, it's okay that things didn't go as planned. No, this person was a liar, a cheater, all of the terrible things that you can be as a man, he was. We're gonna call him Alex. So me and Alex had been dating for maybe like a year or two, and a lot of terrible things had already happened to me in this relationship. See the intro. But this was around the time where he was like actually trying to put in some sort of effort to make things better. So I was like excited to see what he was gonna plan. We were talking about it. Slowly the days began to like inch together, and comes like a couple of days before Valentine's Day. I'm gonna keep it real because this is important to the story. He just didn't have a good job at the time. And I knew that, so I kept it in mind. He told me he had put a little money to the side to save for our date. So I was like, great, this is perfect. So at the time, him and his friends had this like weird thing of always going to Chipotle. Like, they were obsessed with Chipotle. I don't know why, don't ask me, please. Side note, the top, and it matches the blush. It's from Revolve. I'm gonna link it. So he tells me one day, he's like, "Yeah, me and the boys are gonna go to Chipotle." "Oh, I thought you were saving for our date." He's like, "No, don't worry, don't worry." I'm like, "All right, whatever." Next day, "Hey, we're gonna go to Chipotle again." The next day, "We're going to go to Chipotle again." When it hit the 4th day, I just kept my mouth shut. I'm not joking, you guys. It's the day before Valentine's Day. "Hey, listen, I don't think I have enough money to like take you out or like what I wanted to do. I have a better idea instead." Didn't we? What's the idea? He says that he's gonna plan a picnic. And I'm like, okay, that can be romantic. That's cute. But wait a minute. We live in New York. It's February. It's freezing. Valentine's Day rolls around and he has his little backpack. We have our coats on and we go to a nearby park. We sit down. He opens the backpack. He pulls out Nutella and bread. Ask me if it was new Nutella, if it was a new loaf of bread. Nope. He pulled out used Nutella and half a loaf of bread from his parents' cabinet. Not only was it used, I had to make my own Nutella sandwich. You couldn't even make my sandwich? Girl. We just sat there in the cold eating our Nutella sandwiches, freezing. Happy Valentine's Day.
This is why I sleep with my door closed. So this story happened in my old house, and if you're new to my story times, I'm pretty sure I used to live in a haunted house. Also, this was a canon event because every single time once nighttime hits, my door is shut. But anyways, this story happened one night after my whole entire family went out to celebrate my brother's birthday, and after we were exhausted. Like, when we stepped through the door, we were like, yeah, it's time for bed. Anyways, I need everyone to keep in mind that my room is at the end of the hallway. So when my door is open, all I see is a black void and then like a few little lights from the living room and then in the hallway. It's almost like a black portal. So anyways, it was around 11 p.m. when we all went to sleep, and then I'd say about a few hours later, so around 1, 2-ish, is when I got awoken from hearing the floor creaking near my room. So once again, where my room is, there's a bathroom right next to it, so of course I knew people had to pee at night, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But what I found weird was that when I was hearing this creaking, I didn't hear anyone go into the bathroom, so it's like, where are you going? So that awoken me and had me on alert. I remember in that moment, I grabbed my glasses to put them on, as if that would help, you know, being that my room is pitch black at this point and the light switch is across the room, so... But you know when the lights are off and your eyes start to adjust and you can kind of make out the things that are around you? Well, that was happening. When I put my glasses on and my eyes started to adjust, I noticed that where the usual beaming lights from the living room and hallway would be weren't there. Like, the lights would occasionally pop in and out, indicating that someone was standing right in front of where my room was and was like swaying, kind of, if that makes sense. So right now in this moment, I'm kind of frozen, and to the point where I couldn't say anything. It was like my vocal cords were cut and I just could not speak. So my eyes are adjusted and I noticed that whatever was standing right in front of my door walked into my room and was standing right where the light switch was. At this point, I'm nervous because I'm thinking one of two things. One, there's an intruder. Or two, someone's sleepwalking, and not gonna lie, sleepwalkers, they scare me. So what I remember is that this figure was tall and slightly skinny, so I immediately thought it was my older brother. A little while later, this figure, or what I thought was my brother, starts to mumble in some gibberish, which is why I thought it was him, because usually that's what happens when you sleepwalk, you start to like say things in your sleep. But anyways, after that, I can sense that the figure started to walk back into the hallway, and then that was it. I didn't hear the floor creaking, nothing. It just disappeared. So I ended up going to sleep, and fast forward the next morning, I go up to my brother, and I'm like, hey, did you remember sleepwalking last night? He basically told me it was impossible for it to be him because he sleeps with his door shut, and then when I asked my parents, they said that if one of them was sleepwalking, they would know because they sleep in the same bed and, you know, you'd be making noise getting up and stuff. So at this point, I'm confused because who the hell was in my room last night? Now, fast forward again. It's nighttime and I decided to sleep with my door open again, but this time I left like a little trap in the front of my door. I basically put Legos in front of the door, so if you were to step on it and if you were sleepwalking, you'd wake up and scream and then I would know who it was. But here's when it got weird. So I'm sleeping and then once again, I'm awoken by the floor creaking. I remember sneakingly putting on my glasses and then staring at the door until my eyes adjusted, and then I saw that figure again. That's when I noticed it started walking into my room, but there was no noise of those Legos being stepped on, so at this point, I'm like, what the hell? Right now, my heart is pounding because I know that that's not a human and it has to be a ghost. I kid y'all not, I blinked for 1 second and then this figure is standing at the edge of my bed. So I'm slightly side-eyeing this figure because I'm on my side sleeping, so I try to do like this whole fake I'm tossing and turning in my sleep so I can turn around and see it clearly. And when I shifted my body to fully look at it, I heard mumbling again, and that's when I felt this goosebumpy cold feeling in my room. That's when I thought to myself, it's either I put the covers over my head or I let out a scream and let this thing know that it needs to get the hell out of here. So I went with option 2, but instead of screaming, I decided to cough really loud. And after I let it out a few times, it was gone. When I tell y'all, I got up so fast from my bed, turned on that light and shut my door, I slept with my light on for the rest of that night. I got in trouble for it, but but listen, to this day, I have no idea who or what was standing in my room, but all I do know is that they never came back after I kept my door shut.